Welcome to Issued for Construction. I'm your host, Jonathan Jacobson. Today I've got with me a woman whose work I had known about for a number of years. Coincidentally, we met at a Zinco party, first time ever meeting, the 2025.
Yeah.
And you probably have seen her work in some magazines. You'll have seen it online. Today I've got with me Kate Fox Whyte. And Kate is the owner of Fox Whyte Landscape Architecture and Design, as well as a furniture line called Haig.
That's right.
So Kate, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking a risk in doing this.
No problem.
Kate joins a few others who have had some level of uncertainty about doing this, but she is overcoming those demons.
Sure.
Give her a few minutes and she'll be fine. So, first I got to say, and I say to everyone, but like thanks for taking time out of your day.
Sure.
I know that you have busy days.
Yep.
Running two businesses and being a mom and wife and all the things that encompass what those adjectives require. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We've had to reschedule a bunch of times.
We have. Fifth time's the charm, right?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
The fifth time?
Yeah.
Lord. Before we get into who Kate is in the incredible outdoor environments her and her team design, I want to talk to you about Kaplan's appliances. Why? Well, it's because a huge part of landscape architecture is how you actually live in those outdoor spaces, how you use them. It is about the cookouts and the unforgettable smells and aromas of the outdoor experience. You'll know you're walking down the street and you have that beautiful, incredible smell of what your neighbor's cooking. Well, if you're building an outdoor kitchen, Kaplan's provides all the top premium brands to support your outdoor living experience. Whether you are looking for Wolf, DCS, Kalamazoo, Lynx, or Artisan, they have it all. The opportunity for product is endless with Kaplan's. They carry smokers, barbecues, and gas cooktops. Think about the opportunities to be able to host and entertain, whether it is a quiet night solely for your family, or a huge gathering for your extended family, or a massive neighborhood cookout where you have an opportunity to try and win the title for the best brisket in the area, the best ribs, or maybe just perfectly grilled vegetables. Kaplan's has an entire showroom dedicated specifically to showing you what the outdoor kitchen can look like. So if you want to learn more, feel free to head over to the liner notes to get a direct link to their website, or you can email me directly. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca, and I can connect you with their fantastic team. But okay, let's get back to who Kate is. Okay, so let's get into who Kate is. So let's go and start with where were you born and what kind of kid were you?
So I was born in Calgary, actually, but we only lived there until I was 3. So I don't really remember it particularly. And then I think my mom wanted to move back east to be with family. And so my parents moved to Peterborough. And I lived there until I was 8. Okay. And my dad was, I think, teaching at Trent University at the time. I think that's partly why we settled there as well.
Yeah.
And what kind of kid was I? I mean, I'm a pretty shy kid. But we moved to Toronto after grade 3 for me.
Yeah.
And living in the city, you don't necessarily get to sort of play outside as much. What I remember about living in Peterborough, growing up there, is it being pretty sort of like what we think of nostalgically, I think now as like very free play. So I had lots of friends in the neighborhood. We would go like back and forth down the laneway and play with each other. And we had a small back garden that I kind of remember playing in. And I actually met my best friend in kindergarten there, and we're still friends. So that was, so that was sort of, that's having moved away when I was 3, you sort of lose some of those connections. So then you kind of lose some of those memories, I think, as well. But that's kind of what I what I took from that time.
And when you say free play and you talk about laneways and stuff, like, is this like kids out there playing like tag and?
I remember skipping rope.
Skipping rope. Okay.
Yeah. And just like going back and forth between our houses and that kind of thing. And just, I do remember being like, I have, I guess a couple stronger sort of visual memories of being sort of, I don't think we had like a fancy garden or anything like that in the back, but like pulling weeds or whatever you're doing, just playing with like flowers and that kind of thing in the back garden. And we had the house that we were living in at the time had a front porch that had a bunch of, I think they were viburnum maybe around the outside, really big sort of flowers. And there was always a lot of bees and stuff like that around there. So those are the kind of strong visual memories that I have.
You had.
Yeah.
Do you have a random question? I've never asked someone this question before.
Okay.
What is it? You ever play capture the flag with your friends in the back there?
No, but I do remember that from camp, because I went to camp for a number of years. Like, definitely like sleepover camp.
Okay.
Yeah. So
great. That's like the greatest game. I had this vision of like you have this like laneway and there's these great spots to be able to hide, and I see these kids like running like, got the flag.
It wasn't like that, okay, but yeah.
So you moved to Toronto for grade 3.
So I finished grade 3 in Peterborough, and then we moved to Toronto for grade 4.
Grade 4, okay.
And I think my mom wanted to move to the city for a couple of reasons. Her best friend was in the city, and one of her sisters. Okay. And so we moved to Riverdale. My mom's best friend lived in the Bain Co-op.
Okay.
And so we moved into the Bain Co-op, and then my mom got a job at the same place her friend was working at, which was Now Magazine. And so we kind of, for the first year, I went to an alternative school, which was French immersion, because that's what I'd been doing in Peterborough. And then after that, I went to Claude Watson for most of the rest of my education, basically. So
it was a great school.
It was a fantastic experience.
Fed into Earl Haig.
Yep.
And you go to Earl Haig?
Yep, I went to Earl Haig as well. Yeah.
For what art?
So when you're in the younger school, mini Claude, you do everything, right? So you do all the arts, and it really, I still keep in touch with friends from school, and it was a really incredible experience. Just a very tight-knit community, like essentially full of like tons of like very eager, enthusiastic kids.
Yeah.
Obviously we did academics, but that's not really what I remember from it. It was really just essentially, it felt like we were just doing arts stuff all the time, whether it was dance or choir or performances, drama, visual art, the whole thing. That's all we did all day, all different kinds of stuff. So, and then eventually you specialize. You before you go to high school in the last year, you pick which arts stream you want to be in,
right? So
that you can kind of carry that through.
And what did you pick?
Visual art.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was choir, Kate. We haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I liked choir, but I liked choir, but that was not my. But yeah, I ended up picking visual arts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I went to York Mills, and there was always the rivalry between the two schools of kill the Titan or squish the fish.
Squish the fish. I didn't remember that, but yeah.
You remember now?
No.
No. Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, I remember all those like basketball and basketball, volleyball. Like I remember like those games when it would happen between our schools.
I don't remember basketball and volleyball so much. Earl Haig was really big on rugby.
Yes.
Right? That
we
was
also we had a rugby. Yeah,
so there was that sort of rivalry. Yeah.
Yeah. And your friend from Peterborough,
she stayed.
She stayed in Peterborough.
Yeah.
So how did that work?
So back in the day, we wrote letters to each other.
Yeah.
Our parents had us write letters to each
I
other.
love it.
So, and my friend Julia, she still has, actually, they're quite funny. She still has a bunch of them, which is pretty cool.
Hi, Julia.
Hey, Jewel. Yeah, we wrote letters. And then I think when we were 10, our parents started sending us to sleepover camp together. And so every summer we would go to sleepover camp together. And then eventually we CIT'd together. And then
Which camp
counselors
did you go to?
So we went to the Hollows,
Okay.
which I don't think is an overnight camp anymore. I think the pandemic changed that, but it was horseback riding camp. So,
cool.
And then when we started working there, we worked together running the waterfront. Both of us were lifeguards and swim instructors, and so that's how we stayed in touch.
Unbelievable.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Cool thing for our parents to do, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to have the connectivity between two different cities.
Yep.
As young kids, like you feel disconnected.
For sure.
But when you got that mail, I'm sure like you both lit up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's just really incredible to have known someone for that long, right? Yeah. To have that sort of long-standing friendship. So
I'll tell you, like I have on that topic, I have some friends I've been close friends with since the third grade as well. Some of them, a couple I've known before that, but I have like one of my closest friends is a guy I talk to like 2 to 3 days a week while I'm dropping my daughter off every morning, since the third grade. Yeah, it's powerful. It's meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, I think those. I feel lucky because even because of Mini Claude, even those friendships, like when you go away to university, things maybe kind of dissipate for a little while, but then you come back together, and when we get together, it's like no time has passed at all. Like it's really pretty incredible
until the next morning.
Exactly.
And then you realize how much time has passed.
Exactly.
Like, man, why did I stay out so late?
Yes.
I should have had one less drink.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. I mean, it's so great to be able to have those kinds of relationships with people where you can draw on that collective like love for what youth was and where you are now and how you've all evolved as professionals.
Yeah.
So what did you do with your degree? With your high school education? Where did you apply to go to university? What did you do?
So I went to Guelph for landscape architecture. And at the time, it wasn't a super well-known profession. I would say about half of the students in our class, and we had a pretty good sized class, were straight out of high school. And then the rest were second degrees, because a lot of people were finding it sort of when they were in university for something else.
Right.
Because this was 1997. So it really, landscape architecture has come a long way in terms of just general recognition. And we used to joke in university because we would get like, oh, are you going to mow my lawn or whatever? Like really people did not understand what landscape architecture is. And I didn't really know what it was. I thought maybe I wanted to go into marine biology or something else.
Like George Costanza.
Did George Costanza want to go into marine biology?
Didn't he say he was the two roles that he had are three? One of them was like an architect and the other one was a marine biologist.
I didn't remember that.
I could be wrong. And then another one was like Art Vandelay was the importer exporter. Sorry. Okay. I totally digress.
All good. What was I saying?
I see. I ruined your train of thought. It's my fault.
It's okay.
Stupid Seinfeld.
Love Seinfeld. That's good. Seinfeld's good stuff.
My wife and I are rewatching all of it right now every morning while we work out.
We're watching Parks and Rec with my daughter right now, which is so good. Yeah. So good. She just finished The Office with my husband. So anyways.
We digress.
So I hadn't heard of landscape architecture. I came across it by chance. We had someone come into our art class in high school who was a landscape architect. I don't know who they were. So
that's okay. They made a mark on you on what you're going to do.
Yeah, they talked about what they did. I can still picture the one slide that they showed. And I remember thinking, like, you get paid to do this? And so then I guess changed courses. Like I must have talked to a guidance counselor about it. I had a really great art teacher, Cathy Quinn. And she was really helpful, just sort of like figuring out sort of how to approach the portfolio stuff and that kind of thing.
Is that what you had to, when you were applying, what were the prerequisites to get into the program?
I don't fully remember, except for we did have to produce a portfolio.
You did?
Yeah. And I remember that they were really strict on the size requirements because I guess they'd probably gotten some really big portfolios or submissions or something like that in the past. But they had very sort of specific parameters. They wanted images of your work, and then both in sort of print and then slide format. And so I made like a box, and then these special sort of, I think out of chicken wire, maybe something like that, like containers, one cylinder, one sphere to hold like a roll of my images, and then the slides sort of in a container, and sent that away, and yeah.
It worked.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah.
How many kids were in the program?
I think our class had like 25 or something like that. It's a
small program.
It's a small, but that's a pretty good size class for
yeah.
At the time. Now it's much bigger, I think. But at the time, that was a pretty good size class. And it's Guelph. At the time, it was Guelph or nothing, because U of T had just dropped their undergrad program. So I applied to Guelph for landscape architecture, and then I applied to fine art at Queen's, and I think maybe science somewhere else or something like that, kind of hedging my bets.
Yeah.
And then, I got into landscape architecture.
You know, speaking of landscape architecture and creating those beautiful outdoor spaces, I want to take a quick second to talk about the doors. They are a premium European window and door supplier right here in Toronto, but not bound by borders. They can work anywhere throughout North America, into the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Think about having a giant curtain wall or lift and slide glass at the back of your house. It really allows you to feel like you are connected to the landscape outside, while you might just be sitting in your living room or looking out from your kitchen. The only distinction between the indoors and the outdoors is the glass that separates it. When you have a company like The Doors working with you on a project, achieving those curtain walls is seamless. They can have an expanse of over 20 feet wide or 20 feet tall. So if you want to see a beautiful tree that exists in your backyard, or you have an incredible vista looking out into a valley, or if you're in the Muskokas, and perhaps you live right in the heart of Toronto or a city where you can imagine the concept of being able to look out from the back of your home through this beautiful glass and taking in this incredible scenery. That is the beauty of working with a company like The Doors. They understand the importance of that view. They understand the importance of quality, and they have incredible aluminum products that are so low profile that you get more glass and less frame. Ultimately, that is what you want when you are looking through a window. You do not want to look at the frame. You want to look through the opening of the glass and see the expanse. If you want to learn more about their amazing European tilt and turn, lift and slide, or curtain wall products, feel free to head over to the liner notes, or I can connect you directly with them if you email me. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca. Now, back to Kate. And were you the only student from your school that had applied to this, or were there others?
So in my class, yes. But actually, one of the things that was really nice is my art teacher, Cathy, Miss Quinn, had put me in touch with a student from our high school who was a year ahead of me, who was already at Guelph. And so I went to visit him and sat in on a couple of his classes and sort of got to check out the program. I sat in on a class called Materials and Techniques, which was like one of my favorite classes. I totally loved it. Maurice Nelischer taught it. And it was really helpful just to get to see what it was like and see if I wanted to do it. And that was Mark Ryan, actually, of Public Work. So, So that was a really nice thing for her to do.
I mean, it's and totally validating to the cause of wanting to go there now. Like, okay, now I understand what I'm going to be getting into.
Yeah,
this makes sense. Let's do this.
I mean, I loved the class that I sat in on. So I was like, yeah, this is for me. This is great. So.
And was there ever a hesitation from your parents about you moving away, or did they not care?
No, my mom was totally fine with that. I mean, Guelph's not that far from Toronto, so I I would have, if there'd been an opportunity, I would have applied to UT, but I kind of wanted to go away too.
Yeah.
I wanted that experience. So
For those unaware, Guelph's in a region about an hour away from Toronto in Canada here. And it's a beautiful school, beautiful campus. And at the time, in the late 90s or early 2000s, it was also like not quite as big as what it is now.
the city?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It
There's
was
been
like
tons of
underdeveloped,
expansion.
and for those interested, they have a great brewery there called Sleeman.
That's right.
So
Yep.
Highway 6 on the way in.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a plug for you, Sleeman. So how many years was the program? And it was an undergrad program. Was there
It's an undergrad program? We were the first. So it used to be 5 years. We were the first year to do it in 4.
Okay.
So they kind of felt like they just condensed 5 years into 4 years, basically. So yeah, it was pretty intense, but it was great. It was really great.
And did they offer any form of co-op as a part of the school or not?
Yes. So third year you could go away or you could do a co-op. So I did a co-op actually. And
where did you do?
So I worked at
Locally?
Terraplan. I worked at Terraplan in Toronto.
Okay.
And I mean, I would have loved to have gone away, but it wasn't really financially possible. And I wanted to get some work experience. And it wasn't the type of work that I was interested in, but it was an incredible learning experience. So I was doing all the kind of CAD. I was doing whatever, basically. I was like happy to do whatever they wanted me to do. And they were doing primarily, I would say, like a lot of public work and commercial kind of developments and stuff like that. And so while it wasn't necessarily what I was interested in from a design perspective, I was doing tons of site plan applications and construction drawing sets. There was a fellow there who was like just really great at like putting together construction drawings and was very sort of strict on how you draft and all that kind of stuff. And it was just such a really good experience.
I mean, and draw upon that as you continue to work out things for yourself eventually. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of foundational qualities that it sounds like you'd get out of that.
Yeah, it was just a really good first learning experience. And doing that, it made the last year of school, even though it was more thesis, certainly a lot easier. But going into an office from school makes you realize how little you know. Like you learn so much in an office environment, right? Compared to school. It was just it was eye-opening for sure.
I did a co-op at the Score when the Score was like really big back in the early 2000s as a part of school. And you talk about eye-opening comparatively to school. It's like, a major network, and like the time that went into editing and pulling old footage from like video archives. And it's like what a incredible joy was to see how that worked, because it was like pre-digital age.
Right.
Like
yes.
You were pulling like if there was footage from like a basketball game, you'd have to go into the studio archive and you'd roll this wheel.
Yeah.
To get access to the tape. It was wild. So I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so you finished up that 4-year degree, and did you do a master's or was it just straight into work life?
Straight into work. I didn't want to do any more school.
Okay.
At the time. I was good. I think arts program that I went through was great, but it was also really intensive. And then Guelph was also pretty intense. Yeah. So I was kind of done with school by the time that was finished. And so I didn't go back to Terraplan. I ended up going to work for JRA, which I think is JRS now, and worked there until 2004.
Okay.
So I went there because they were known for, at the time, primarily doing high-end residential, which is something that I was really interested in doing.
Yeah.
And
why?
I don't know. I've always liked it. Like I would read like every House and Home magazine, and like I loved fashion and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I was more interested in creating like personal spaces as opposed to doing public work particularly.
Okay.
And then I think at the time too, what I felt like I was seeing, and it doesn't, maybe just what we were exposed to as well, I'm not sure, but it felt like the quality of the design that was going into those gardens was of a sort of higher caliber than what was happening in public spaces.
Okay.
So that's what I was interested in doing.
Fair.
So, but I didn't actually end up doing much residential when I went there because I'd had some experience doing public work at Terraplan. And that was around the time where that office was really starting to transition into doing public work. So I ended up doing public projects and stuff like that. But they were of a very high design quality. And it was like a very good learning experience in terms of looking at all the details and like how considered everything was. And it was at the time because it was growing really rapidly, a pretty young office. Like it was expanding quickly, and there was a lot of other employees who were kind of around my age level of experience.
Yeah.
And so it was a bit of sink or swim, right? Fake it till you make it, that kind of thing. But I got the opportunity. Yeah, me too. But it gave me the opportunity to work on some projects that I probably shouldn't really have been managing.
Like what?
But like, at the time, so I was working on the Shaw Festival Theatre. That was super build time. So there was a lot of super build money, those projects. So that was the first project I managed by myself. And then Welland Civic Square and Canal Parklands. In the office at the time, I wasn't really working on it, but they were also, that's when the waterfront was starting to happen. So that was sort of going on in the background as well. And then I worked on St. Andrews College and Brinks Hall. There was a lot of public projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's awesome.
Yeah. And like high, like very, very good quality, like well designed, beautiful public.
As close to private.
Yeah, as you can
get in the public sector.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the right type of a budget with people with some level of ambition of what they want to have accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so how many years did you spend there?
About 4 years.
4 years. Yeah. Okay.
And then I worked briefly at another office for about a year while I finished my license.
Yeah.
Because I actually wasn't really sure I wanted to stay in the profession.
Interesting. Why?
Partly it was I didn't love the work-life balance culture of the industry, like long hours and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't really sure if it was for me. And so I kind of just figured that if I at least got my license and sort of finished that process, then I would have something to show for it if I decided to do something else, which is, I don't know what.
Right.
And so I did that while I was working at another firm for a year. And then when that was finished, I was sort of, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to work next. It's a pretty small industry. I had a lot of friends who were in other firms. I wasn't really kind of excited by, I think this is kind of a pretty typical thing industry-wide, because landscape architecture, like architecture, is really broad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So finding the right fit is hard because you're looking for both like the right office culture, but also the right kind of projects that you want to be doing. And so I didn't really see anything out there that I like where I wanted to work. I was kind of interested in working for Mark Hartley, and I did connect with him at the time, but he didn't have any employment available. And so I decided to go out on my own.
And this was 2004?
2005.
That's right. You had a year, right? Yeah. Okay.
And so I
So this year is your legal drinking age in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. And it was.
There was a lot of pensive thought right there, realizing.
Yeah, it was a kind of a difficult decision to make for sure, right? Like, well, it's a scary thing to go out on your own. You have to figure out how you're going to support yourself. Right. Yeah. And I just, my husband and I spoke about it a little bit, and I decided that I would reach out to a few firms that I could maybe do some moonlighting for on the side while I sort of built my business. Yeah. and connected with a small firm called Corbin and Good, who did primarily kind of urban planning and commercial work. So not what I was interested in doing, because I wanted to do residential work anyways. And so I worked for them a couple days a week, and then sort of started doing some work on my own. And then by chance, one of Mark's employees went on maternity leave. And so he picked me up a couple days. And so that was really helpful while I was kind of building business.
Yep. That's interesting. You say we were chatting about this before we started recording about, going out on your own, which is now what I've done and out on my own. And
congrats.
Yeah. And so that I made this joke to my wife. One of the joys of being able to do it is, I'm so sorry, Wendy, if you end up listening to this, but you go out on your own. We're going away from the date of the recording to when this airs. The time will have passed, but we're going to West Palm with the family, and they're staying longer because I didn't want to miss work. And day one of being on my own, I was like, hold on. I said to my wife, I'm going to put in a vacation request and see if I can extend.
Did you get approval?
Yeah, and my boss was like, yeah, go ahead and you can use the company credit card.
Perfect.
So they're like, as much as there can be trepidation and uncertainty with it, there's also a lot of the freedom that can come with it as well, assuming that you can figure out your business model and what you're going to want to do.
For sure.
So how long did it take you to be able to do that, to figure out like what your business model was going to be? If you could pick your ideal project, like, did you come out and write a business plan, or was this a situation of, I'll take what I can get right now and go figure it out as I go?
Yeah, it was the latter. Yeah. Figured it out as you go. Like, I think I've heard this spoken about a lot on the podcast, and I know we talk about it a lot in the industry, but they don't teach business in school. So, and I didn't have anyone in my family who was going to pass along that kind of knowledge. So, it was just kind of figure it out as you go. And I got lucky in some ways. Garth, one of the partners at Corbin and Good, had a friend who had a place in Rosedale, and he didn't want to do the job. So that was one of my early projects.
So, okay, let's actually, can we unpack what you just said there for a second? Because what you said was, I got lucky.
Yes.
I don't, do you really feel like you got lucky? When you stop and analyze, you have to have, in order for luck to play a role, you have to have been in the room for luck to find you. And you have to have enough of a relationship with people, with enough credibility with people, to be able to support that chance when it arrives. Is it luck?
I think there's always a little bit of that, but I would also say that, yes, I mean, everywhere I've ever worked, I've worked incredibly hard.
Right.
I've always done the best work I possibly can. You do all the things you're supposed to do. You show up on time. You put in the extra effort. You're friendly to work with, all that kind of thing. Yeah. Right. So from that standpoint, sure, I put it, and I wasn't coming out of nowhere. Like, I had cut my teeth, I guess, already doing some projects and was doing good work for Corbin and Good. So obviously Garth felt comfortable handing me off to a friend of his. But yes, I mean, I think
the track record lays the foundation for the opportunity.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that for any reason to be like conceited or like, like none of that. It's just like, there's also, I think that there should be an element of confidence that goes into saying, I work my ass off.
Yeah.
And when the opportunity presents itself, well, yeah, then
you're ready to seize it. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
That's
I guess maybe lucky in terms of just like getting a project as an early project in a neighborhood like Rosedale. Yes. That's it wasn't it wasn't his friend's like backyard that was, like 10 by 10 or something like that. Exactly.
No one's going to see it. Yeah.
Yes.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
So in that sense, I would say it was lucky. But yeah, no, you're right. You have to be, you have to you make your own luck, right? You have to make the opportunities for yourself and be ready to, it felt like a pretty big early project to be taking on my own.
So what was the scale of the project?
Back and front garden, full redo. Yeah. So there weren't a lot of major structures or anything like that. There was no pool, but it was still a good sized project with a lot of stonework and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Worth noting also, just for those that are unaware, what falls into the category of landscape architecture?
For us, and I mean, it can vary a little bit.
Okay.
But it's generally everything outside of the building envelope. So it could be, if it's a really major structure, then maybe no, we don't get into it, but we do cabanas, pools, stormwater management, grading, planting, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So
yeah, I just think it's important for anyone listening that may or may not know this.
Yes. I think landscape architecture, a lot of people think we just come in and put the plants in.
That's exactly why I wanted you to define it.
Yes. So that is not what a landscape architect does.
Oh, what a lovely flower she specced.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. The flower's got to have roots. The roots need to have somewhere to be able to adhere to.
Yes.
And the water that's in the ground has to go somewhere. And there's a lot of thought that goes into all of that.
Yeah. And then there's all the hardscape and all that kind of planning. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, what I'm practicing, landscape architecture, like architecture, is a really broad profession. So I'm doing residential landscape architecture, some commercial, but small scale stuff relatively. Some landscape architects are doing major infrastructure kind of projects, right?
Well, just different scale, different practice.
But it's not just a plants profession.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just,
like Don River, that was just that $1 billion project, that infrastructure project to manage stormwater for the city. That's a landscape architect doing that project.
Right,
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So now that everyone's clear on what that is, let's talk about what the evolution of the practice looked like as you kind of got into it a little bit more.
Speaking of the evolution of landscape architecture and managing complex sites, I want to take a quick second to tell you about Aquanta Pools. Aquanta specializes in biodesign pools, which represent a massive leap forward in how we integrate water features into our backyard. One of the most important things to know about biodesign is that it works entirely based on a patented layer rather than pouring traditional concrete. The process starts with a low-impact excavation, followed by a protective geotextile layer and a highly elastic EPDM waterproofing liner. Then they put down a structural consolidation net and apply a first layer of hand-traveled natural quartz sand and non-toxic resin. After a second structural net goes down, they add the top layer, which is a fully customizable blend of beautiful Italian quartz sand and antimicrobial resin. You can choose natural finishes that make the pool look exactly like a pristine beach or lagoon. Recently, I actually introduced Kate to Yuri from Aquanta Pools, and one of the most interesting things Kate derived from that introduction was how perfectly these pools solve a major modern landscaping problem. There has been a lot of reform recently regarding the impact to trees in the city of Toronto. With traditional concrete pools, the heavy excavation and machinery can easily disrupt root zones and trigger a frustrating city variance now. But the beauty of how Aquanta biodesign pools are inserted into the ground is that their flexible, lightweight excavation, that process minimizes the amount of risk and damage to surrounding trees. Imagine being able to seamlessly integrate a gorgeous pool into your construction process without triggering a variance or having to extend the startup of construction itself. Erie works directly with landscape architects, traditional architects, builders, homeowners, whatever you need, he's there to support it. If you want to learn more about Aquanta, head over to the liner notes or email me directly. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, @issuedforconstruction.ca. Now, back to Kate.
So you go into that project. I'm assuming it went well. Everyone was happy in the end. Did it translate into photography that then got promoted and was in any form of publication, or did that come a little bit later?
That came later. It was certainly helpful in portfolio building and that kind of thing.
Can I actually ask? Sorry to interrupt you, but can I ask a question just specifically on that? Did it allow you to be able to exemplify what you wanted to be out there as your product?
In terms of quality, sure. I mean, it was a more traditional project than maybe we typically might undertake. Although our work by nature, I think, tends to vary in style because we want to tie what we're doing into whatever site and architecture and that kind of thing. So
Okay.
we do some projects that are what would be considered transitional or clean, traditional kind of
Yep.
projects. But my interest in more of our work tends to lie in more contemporary kind of projects.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but in terms of just being a good representation of like a well delivered, well executed, still well, laid out project.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And did it lead to another project?
So my career took a little kind of pause,
Interesting.
sort of. It wasn't really a pause, but when I was working for Mark Hartley, he got a really big project into the office. And then he got a second big project in the office. These were 2 estates for a, like 190 acres, one of them, like huge scale projects. And so while I was working for Mark part-time, he asked if I would sort of manage those projects. And so I was still doing some work on the side, but I was primarily focused on doing that for a number of years. And it was just
really a couple of years?
It was 7 years, actually. Just a few years.
190 acres?
Yeah, it was
Huge.
it was just too incredible an opportunity to pass up,
Of
right?
course.
Like just the learning experience, the ability we were moving earth. You don't get to do that in the city very often, right? We were sculpting land, making, like walking systems and private residential, but still and just the level of finish, the architects that we were working with, like all that kind of thing. It was just too good an opportunity to pass up. And I didn't have kids at the time, so it didn't matter that they were 3.5 hour drive outside of Toronto. Like it was fine. Yeah. So I did that.
Were you driving every day to the projects?
No.
Okay.
Some of the trades did, which I think is insane.
Yeah, that's wild.
But yeah.
Okay.
So I did that for 7 years, and I was still doing some of my own projects on the side, but I kind of made the decision to kind of set the practice aside and do that. And then once the second of the 2 projects wrapped up about the same time that my daughter Ivy was born. And so it was like a clean kind of transition. Yeah.
I assume you took time off?
With my first pregnancy, yes. I took
limited
6 months, I think.
Okay. More than US, less than the standard in Canada.
Yeah. With my second daughter, 0, because that's what it's like when you run a practice and you have kids. So Olivia got to go to lots of job sites and client meetings and all that kind of stuff.
And how are you managing? Like, you didn't take a couple weeks off, or really?
A little bit. I had one woman working for me at the time, and so. But I was still going, I was still talking to her. I was still going downstairs to talk to her. Like at the time, our business was in the basement of my house. So yeah, I went downstairs with Olivia and just checking in, and then
crazy.
It is crazy. You do it because you have to, and then when you get through it, you look back and think,
couldn't do that again.
No, for sure. Yeah.
I don't know what I was on then, but somehow that worked.
It's all a blur. Yeah. So yeah.
So, given all of that, how did you source projects? Like, what were you doing to be able to acquire projects? If busy on the one hand, doing those large scale projects for Mark, and then coming out of that, running your own, I guess moonlighting a little bit on the side to still run the other ones. Sales is not easy.
So when I knew, obviously I knew a break was coming up and I was going to be going on maternity leave. Yeah. And I had kind of decided at that time that I did want to go just out on my own, partly because I wanted largely because I wanted the flexibility. I knew it was going to be hard having kids in a practice, and I didn't know exactly what that was going to entail, but I knew I wanted to only have to answer to myself. I didn't want to feel like I was obliged to somebody else, not being able to perform or put in the time or whatever, right? Yep. And it just seemed like a logical kind of break or change. And so before I went on maternity leave, I can't really remember. I did a rebranding exercise. And so I hired a company, Hambly and Woolley, and did a proper logo, a website, all that kind of stuff that I should have done before, but kind of put on hold.
Yep.
And then one of the things that they suggested, and this feels like very olden days, even though it wasn't that long ago, just because of the kind of digital nature of everything we do now. But they made these beautiful cards for me to mail out.
Yep.
I just put together a list of like all the architects I might be interested in working with, or builders, or anything like that, and I just sent them out. And
did you handwrite the notes, or was it something that was printed?
It was just printed material, okay. So there wasn't any handwritten notes specifically in them. But I sent one to, among many others, to Meg Graham and Andre.
Yep.
And Meg reached out, and that was sort of the catalyst for a lot of work coming in.
Amazing.
It was really kind of interesting because Meg's younger son is about the same age as Ivy. So we were kind of in a similar sort of time, although Hunter was her second child. And so Meg brought me in to interview for a couple projects. Yep. And then also that was the time when Beat was starting. It wasn't formal, but they were having events where women were getting together at different spots just for drinks. Yep. Super casual, not sort of the thing that it is now. But that was amazing for me because, it's very isolating when you're running your own practice and you're kind of like...
In a largely male-dominated industry.
Yeah. And so even though I'm landscape architect, not an architect, Meg invited me along, and I met some really great other women there, who then I ended up doing projects with. And so that sort of was the catalyst, I guess.
Yeah. So for those that are unaware, what is BEAT?
Oh, Building Equity in Architecture Toronto.
Okay. And that is?
It's a group that was started, I think, primarily by Shirley Bloomberg. Is that correct? And Betsy and Meg. Yeah. I forget who else.
I think Heather's on it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of...
Heather, Brenda.
Yeah, a lot of women who have been involved with it. Great practitioners.
Yeah.
And my understanding was initially it was sort of almost just a collective of networking and that kind of thing.
Yep.
It seemed to quite rapidly grow into just something much bigger. So they had early on panels and lectures, and you could visit people's offices and hear them talk about their practice. And it was just very community building. So it was,
And I assume also kind of like a comfort blanket in running your own business, being able to talk to these other practitioners that are doing the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I got work through that, but actually mostly we just talked about kids and other stuff, right? It didn't feel forced or any of that kind of stuff. It just felt very comforting. Yeah.
It's great. And as a result, I mean, this goes back to what I was saying before you and I even hit record, was about the value of relationships.
For sure.
Just put yourself out there and foster relationships, and good things come from those.
Yeah, and you're given the opportunities, and then you do the best job that you can at those projects. So we did a couple of pretty big jobs with Superkul off the hop.
Yeah.
One of them ended up winning a national CSLA award. So that was a really big win for the practice after being away for a while. And so it was just, that was kind of what started to, I guess, the ball rolling.
Yeah. And when you look at scales of project that you take on now, comparatively to what you were looking at in the beginning, although you will say that your first project was also a fairly substantial project comparatively to what you could have had. For sure. Yeah. So I am now retracting what I said to you about 20 minutes ago, that it was luck. I mean, it's pretty special to be able to have full gardens front and back as the first project. So when you look at projects now, what are typical scale of project?
We still do, for whatever reason, most of our work is within the city of Toronto. Okay. I think we've kind of developed a bit of a, not a niche, but we do a lot of urban projects. So they can be quite tight sites. And I guess we're good at making good use of the space and getting a lot into those tight sites. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
Like land is expensive,
Yeah.
right? And so even if it's small, like you want to get as much out of that space as possible.
Kate and I both live in semi-detached.
That's right. With very small gardens. And
Inches matter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've done some. We've done a cottage here or there. We finished a project in Niagara-on-the-Lake last year, year before. So yeah, we do some of those kind of projects, but primarily it's a lot of, and we've done a lot of terraces as well.
So amenity space.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, I just want to, again, provide some frame of reference that like the work isn't always just like beautiful plants, like the hardscaping, outdoor kitchens, like all of this kind of stuff, anything that has to do with how you're going to enjoy your outdoor experience falls on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And terraces, there's a lot of infrastructure that goes into landscape architecture because everything that goes outside in our climate has to last outside.
So I want to go there. I'm glad that you just did this because my next question to you is going to be typically, I'm assuming, and I'm saying this openly, I'm assuming you're engaged at the wrong time versus being engaged at the right time. And I say that I'm saying this, and we've not talked about this. When I make eye contact with you, you're like, oh, you're going here? I'm like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
In typical fashion, what you'd want to have happen in a project is, if you can, all of the design people come in at the beginning of the project. In
an ideal world, sure.
That is how it should work.
Yeah.
Okay. So whether you're working with an architect on the architecture and the interiors, and some architects want to take on landscape design, but they might want to work with a consultant because they don't necessarily do it all. You might come in there. Sometimes it's an architect, it's an interior designer, and the people say, like, that's where my budget is. And then later on, as they get more excited about it and they're halfway through the project, now they're going to say, okay, let's bring in the landscape architect.
Yeah.
And you're like, hold on, what about all the services?
Yeah.
We need gas, we need electrical, and like, you've already done all of this.
It's also just the design opportunities as well. So even in a renovation, but especially in a new build, those connections, whether they're the physical connections, so through doors or even views or whatever, there's more opportunity if it's caught earlier for collaboration and making the best out of the site and the architecture. And I love collaborative work. We work with some great architects, and if you can get in early and make those decisions collectively, it's generally much better for the project, for sure.
So this is my message to architects and designers and builders and homeowners. Don't shoot your project in the foot early by not engaging all parties at the same time.
Yeah.
If it's a consideration at any stage that you're going to do all of this, do it right and start with it from the beginning. The vision that you'll have will be much more successful for your enjoyment later on if you do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't sleep on Kate.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not just the site opportunities too. It's also budget. So that often gets forgotten.
Yeah.
Sadly for us.
Oh, we've used all of our budget on the architecture and the interiors, landscape. We'll come back. Like, we just want a light plan, and we'll come back to the main plan later on. Give us another 2 years.
It happens. I mean, certainly.
Fair.
I mean, we come in and we renovate gardens for houses that have existed for long periods of time, or we come in later on a project where the clients, that was it for the budget and they had to wait for a little while. So, but even if that happens, if you can do the plan up front, even if you can't build it all, like,
you forecast for it, you can rough in for it.
Yeah, you can rough in for it, you can plan for it. Then, 100%.
No, like you're look, I know that a lot of like landscape lighting is low voltage, but even still, like, it's still drawing on something. So where's the panel? How far is the run? Do you need to destroy walls to be able to get a run back to where you want to have the lighting set up?
You want to tie it into your Lutron system?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So I'm saying all of this because if you're out there and you're thinking about this stuff, or you've done it in the past and you've been successful with it, well, is there a better way? And there probably is. additionally to that, marble and other finishes like that are fantastic. Not saying don't go with something like that, but if you could scale that back slightly and increase your landscape budget, you're probably going to enjoy everything a lot more than you might just the one product. So I'm just throwing these things out there.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you're going to invest that much into your home, don't you want to be able to enjoy the rest of the site as well, right? Like as we talked about, like land is expensive. You want to make the most of the space that you have.
Well, and the other, like one of the cool things that I've seen on some projects, and you can have like these beautiful outdoor rooms. So if you're living in our climate, and I say this, Toronto, we lean heavy into Four Seasons.
Yes.
They're not the same every year.
No.
Right?
2026, prime example.
Has been an absolute shit show. Now I have to make sure that I turn on the explicit
That's right.
for this recording. But nonetheless, like there has been a ton of snow. There has been thaws. There have been freezing cold weather. There has been everything in between. Yep. There's been rain. It's been just a brutal winter. And I say that because when you think about the enjoyment of being outdoors, a lot of people have also forgotten what happened during COVID when outdoor was where you were enjoying your time with people.
Yep.
So there's considerations for things like you could do like an outdoor room, and they have screens that can come down so you can manage bugs and you can manage your warmth and heat. And I'm sure you've done lots of that over the years.
For sure. And the technology for those kind of things has come a long way in the last 10 years as well.
So what have you seen that's been different?
Just the level of quality, the design, what's available in terms of some of the things that you can have. So yeah, you can have essentially an outdoor room with screens and heating and the whole 9 yards, kitchen out there. You could pretty much, and we've had some clients actually who have almost done this, kind of like secondary office outside. You live outside 3/4 or more. Maybe there's a few months, January and February, you're not out there, but for the most part, you're getting full use of the garden for most of the year. It's great.
Right. And it changes. I mean, it really does. It changes your experience of home.
100%.
Because now you have pretty much like two homes.
There's lots of projects where we've done gardens for clients who have lived in houses for quite a long time, and then they renovate the back garden, which they never used before, and then they use it all the time. Obviously, that's exactly what we want. Like that's the best compliment, right? Is that the spaces are being well used and well loved and all that kind of thing.
Well, and you think about like how many homes in Toronto are on tight lots, and how much you can pick up some extra space with utilizing what could be a front yard or a rear yard or a side yard in a way that you never really thought about, or the amenity space on a rooftop, right?
Yeah.
So there's lots of opportunity in this. So if there's, I mean, you talk about spanning a career it's been 25 years now.
Yeah.
So are there any projects that you haven't yet been able to do that you would like to do, and whether that is here or abroad? Is there a material that you haven't yet been able to work with that you've really hoped to be able to?
I don't know if there's anything like specifically that we're looking to do that we haven't done.
Okay.
We've started doing a bit more. We've got a couple of commercial projects on the books, which is kind of new for us. I don't know if that's really necessarily what I want to do, but it's been kind of fun and something sort of different.
Yeah.
I really do love doing terraces. They're complex, they're challenging, but you're generally taking a space that is like a total blank slate, right? Nothing at all, usually like a deck and a railing, and you're making a place for someone out of that space, and they're not usually used if that's all that's there.
Yeah.
So that's really fun. I mean, I have a green roof license, so I would say most of our projects have a green roof component to them now, which is pretty great.
Yeah, we're sitting under one too.
Yep, exactly. They're fantastic. Love them. But I mean, these are more than just like a planted green roof. These are living spaces.
Right. Okay, so now I understand what you're saying. You know, you've done a lot of what you're looking for, but you also, I know, venture into other realms of business.
Yeah, so the reason the company has a really long name, my Fox Whyte company and design, is because I've always wanted to do furniture design and have always, I think we talked about this earlier, maybe before we started the podcast. One of the courses that I loved at Guelph the most was materials and techniques. Like I've always loved detailing and how to build things that are functional but really beautifully. It's just always been something that I've been interested in. And landscape architecture is a pretty young profession relatively compared to architecture, and it's come a long way in terms of what's available for landscape architects furniture wise in the last decade or so, but there are still things that are missing. And we used to keep a list in the office of, well, we still kind of have a list of things that we need to design because they don't exist for us. And so we had a project we finished a couple of years ago where we spun some bowls that we needed for a terrace because we needed planters to house trees. We didn't have the depth of soil to be able to put trees up on the terrace. And so we actually spun these planters out of metal, and people started asking, could they buy them, that kind of thing. And so I was like, okay, maybe this is the opportunity. And by chance, we're talking about connections and all that kind of thing, I met through an industry event, Jake Oliveira. He just started a company called Workbench, which essentially their focus is helping designers start building businesses that would be like retail. Because we do tons of custom furniture for our projects, like all the time, right? And doing a custom piece, no problem. We all understand how that happens. Doing something for retail is an entirely different thing. So I met Jake just at the right time, basically.
He's going to be coming on here.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So, that's great. He hadn't told me that. So, so I just happened to meet Jake. It was just like, just the right timing. You know how some things just like stars align, whatever that kind of thing. And there's luck. There's luck. You have to be open to receive it or ready to receive it though, right? So we started working together, and I'd already, for whatever reason, I kind of landed on a name for the company. So the company's called été, which is French word for summer. Surprised that it didn't exist somewhere. Like, really? I'm Googling this. Someone else hasn't incorporated this? Nope. So that became the company name, and we launched at the end of June with 2 planters.
What year?
Of 2025.
Okay.
Officially.
Yep.
And we've just had, like, it's been great. We've had really good reception. So we've had incredible press. We submitted for a Design Lines Best in Design Award. Received Product of the Year at IDS. So it's been pretty wild. So we're still in the...
You're in the infancy stage.
We're in the infancy stage, but
But you're not crawling anymore.
No, and it's I love landscape architecture, obviously, but I've also been doing it for 20 years, and this is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and it's also different. It's new.
You're flexing some different muscles.
It's like a whole new learning adventure, and so it's been really fun, like ton of work. Now I have 2 businesses, not one, so less time, just in general. But it's been fantastic, and I'm also getting to know like all these like it's sort of an adjacent but a different sector of the industry. So I've met all these incredible industrial designers and furniture makers and lighting designers and all that kind of stuff. And
incredible.
It's been fantastic. It's been really great. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Zishan, that'll be the end of this. And then from there, hopefully you can go back into the tie-in of going into Kate's interests and hobbies. I'll say outside of where I said before, like outside of work and all the rest of it. What do you like to do? Okay, so there it is, my friend. Thank you. Good luck with this edit. Buenos noches.
Thanks.
When you look at what life is like outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like to do to be able to forget about work or take your mind off of work, which I know doesn't entirely happen.
No.
But things that you like to do, whether it's hobbies or travel or food or writing poetry. Or,
Don't write poetry. Don't write poetry.
Crochet, learn Latin. Like, I don't know. What are some of the hobbies you've got and things you like to do in your free time?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty busy with kids,
Yep.
mostly, which is great.
Yep.
If I can find the time, I do like to do yoga. That's one of the main things. I wish I had time to swim. That's like a whole other level of commitment that I haven't seemed to be able to carve out the time to do.
Cathy Garrido, do you know Cathy Garrido?
No.
Cathy's one of the owners of Altius.
Oh, okay.
Cathy is an avid swimmer.
Oh, really?
Yes. Swim club.
It's more of a commitment because you have to go somewhere with your swim bag, and you know, like it's yoga I can do at home. It's easier to fit in that kind of stuff. I'm taking piano lessons again with my daughter, so that's been kind of cool. Yeah, because I stopped playing after high school.
Okay.
So that's been fun to pick that up again. So,
amazing.
Yeah, so that's been really good.
So you're going to be doing the recital together?
Maggie, our piano teacher, didn't make me do the holiday recital, which I was really grateful for. Will I have to do this one? Olivia seemed to think that I should have to do.
I mean, I kind of agree with Olivia.
So we'll see. Kind of hope I don't, but it's just been really nice to play again.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and a different form of creativity, right?
Yep. And you really do. It's one of those things like many kind of creative pursuits where when you're in the zone, everything else falls away, right? Yeah. So that's been kind of nice.
And do you get to go and travel much or not so much nowadays?
So we haven't been traveling that much lately. My husband works for one of the hotel companies, and so we have done a fair bit of travel. Yeah. And I think we're hoping to do some more, but no, we haven't done a lot recently. But I'd like to get back into it.
Kids
for
and
sure.
Programs.
Well, yeah. I mean, the kids would love to go again, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So hopefully we're hoping to do another sort of bigger trip maybe next year.
Okay.
But, yeah.
All right. I have to say, Kate, that I appreciate you doing this with me. It went splendidly. You did great.
Glad to hear.
Despite the fact that you might have been a little bit anxious, it never came across. So I thank you for overcoming that and taking the time to sit down and chat and learn. If anyone's interested, you'll be able to locate Kate's work in a few different ways. One would be in the liner notes. You'd be able to see some of her featured projects on the Issued for Construction Instagram, and you can always reach out to Kate directly, and I suggest you do if you've got a landscape project, because her work is exceptional.
Thank you.
It really is. I know a couple friends that have all gawked over your work. One of whom says that she wishes she could get to the point where she can have you do her own home. So, yeah. I thank you for it, and I look forward to continuing to watch your career pursue, grow into 30, 35 years. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.